When I was in school, I thought getting good grades was the only way to succeed. Then I met people who built billion-dollar companies, and their school stories completely changed how I saw it. A lot of them spent more time building than studying. I dropped out of Stanford myself to start Brex after only being there for 8 months, so I get it. I talk to founders from Revolut, Robinhood, ServiceNow, and more, and I ask each of them one question: what role did school actually play in your life? Here are their answers.
I had a lot of really, really nice friends at college, but I only went 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I loaded up all my classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I had a very special process in the deli where I would put my books on the left side of the slicer. So as people came into the store, they would never know that I was working on my homework or doing schoolwork. I never wanted them to see me distracted because they were the main event. School to me was a means to an end. And the deli was a means to an end. The game plan was to be somebody and make a success of my life. So all these things were stepping stones. There's a lot of things that go on in people's minds and in their lives as they're developing. I was a pretty late bloomer, candidly, and I think my superpower was work.
Academically, did you already see that, or no, you were like...
Academically, I was good, but my superpower was never school because I don't like it that much. What was my thing is working and making money, whether that was delivering newspapers, stocking shelves, pumping gas, bussing tables, painting for the town. I mean, I had it all.
Oh, so you had many jobs even growing
many
up,
jobs.
like trying to make money and hustle.
Many jobs, up to and including the midnight shift at Perret gas station. I loved work. I loved making a living, and I loved excelling at whatever job I did. And I'm grateful for every one of them. And there wasn't a single one of them that I didn't like, because they were there to help me and make me stronger, make me better. Nothing would make me happier than to buy something for my mom or my dad or make a contribution to my family. Nothing. And still to this day, nothing makes me happier than to give somebody a present. Other than that, it's just currency, man. It's just a transaction.
My parents were always like, you have to do really well in school because we might get deported if you don't. We're going to need a scholarship to send you to college. I don't think your father and I can do that. So I think I knew from a pretty early age that I was more advanced. Basically, I knew I was smarter than the kids around me.
Do you think if someone asked, like, in your teacher or professors, hey, this is the guy that's going to, like, IPO a company one day,
My kindergarten teacher, my parents always bring this up. They were like, that Mrs. Saltzman, she said to us one day, one day we'll all be proud of the fact that we knew him. Yeah. And then when I got to high school, I kind of went from being the top of my class to feeling average.
Oh, interesting. Because they were just a different school that was like harder to get in, or?
Yeah. And my middle school was in a private school. When you go to a small private school, they have like one teacher that does math for all of the grades, And so I think you miss out on actually some of the value in the public school system. I tried to join the math team for a little bit, but the people on the math team were insane. I was like, okay, I should focus on something else. I'm never going to be as good as these people. I feel like my motivation was too extrinsic at that time.
What does that mean?
Like I was purely thinking about grades.
Oh, interesting.
And getting to the next level and excelling in the next level of education. So getting good grades in middle school so I could go to a good high school, getting good grades in high school so I could go to a great college.
Was Stanford your first choice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got exactly what you wanted.
Did you get good grades? Did you care about that?
No, so I wasn't that good at school.
Oh, really?
So that was part of it. Yeah. For me, it was okay, I'm not good at this thing.
Yeah.
So therefore, let me find my thing that I'm good at. And I coded, right? So that was my thing, and then building companies, and that kind of became my path. But I'm very ADHD. So for me, paying attention in school and doing tests was really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was always really good at that, great at tests.
And for me, it's the opposite. I thought I wanted to get into Stanford too, but I didn't have that good grades. So for me, like what went to my head is like, I don't want to go to a harder school. I want to go to an easier school. So it's easier to get good grades. And then my grades are better for Stanford, like,
Yeah.
I like almost like the opposite mentality at that point.
Both ways work.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you ask some parents and it's like, is it better to hold your kid back if you can and like have them go into one grade below where you would normally have? So do I hold my kid back and send them to kindergarten in 1 year or now? And the trade-off is like, your kid could be bigger than the other kids, right? And so they'll like have an advantage in sports and like organized activities.
That's the Outliers has like a thesis.
Yeah, so you'll have an advantage over other kids. But then there's another school of thought, which I'd say I was more raised in, which was you want to send your kid with the older kids so that they can like learn to advocate for themselves and fight and struggle, and so that it's harder for them.
I think when I was 7 years old and I was at school was pretty tough, and I was also taking part in a lot of competitions like in math, physics, also swimming. And because no one was really preparing me for these competitions, for math, physics, and then initially I was losing them. And because I was so competitive from the childhood, I really kind of learned myself to work hard to compensate for someone else preparing me, because I was competing with other kids who had parents preparing them for Olympiads. And when I was losing, like in the first 3-4 years, I was really kind of tough for me. So I kind of get used to, working hard and then putting myself 100% in something I want to win. When I went to uni, I went to study physics. It's top university in physics in Russia. MIPT is equivalent of MIT, but in Russia. I went specifically in the group where they had economics classes as well.
And why did you go study physics, not economics?
Or just because it was the best university, and I always thinking it doesn't matter where you study, it matters like how they develop your brains. And then in my mind, economics was much easier compared to physics.
Do you think like back then you were like, I wanted to like be successful, make money, work really hard? Like, was it like that ambition already present there, or you're like, I'm just interested in like physics and math and I just want to, study it, and that kind of came later?
The thing when reflecting on being a kid that I remember the most is like feeling bored or isolated a lot. And I think a lot of that feeling drove me to say, I want to create an environment in which I can really push myself, in which I can do things, I can get connected to the world. And so I think some of the drive just came from that. My experience was totally atypical. So I studied chemistry, biology, physics. I spent my time in a physics lab. I ended up running the student union. And it was like all of these like kind of extracurricular, like the research is what I really loved there.
Did it change kind of the ambition? Did you feel it shaping a little bit differently or no?
The first score I got back from a math test was like a 60. And I'd never gotten a 60 in my life. It turns out 60 was actually like the top quartile of the class. But getting the 60 on a test like scared the crap out of me. So I was like, oh wow, I'm in college. I need to really work hard. I think I started to figure out kind of how to work, how to study, how to learn my first year in college. And one of the things I found is, I had a fairly high ability to work hard, and there were great returns from working hard.
What was going through your mind? Is like, hey, I need to work hard to have a good outcome in life? Or is it like, I just want to work hard because I want to do well in this test?
I like solving problems. I like riddles. I like challenges. And I think for me, if I put in the effort, then I can get to a good result. If I'm faced with a big challenge, then I can get to a great outcome. It was almost, the outcome itself that drove me, or the challenge itself that drove me.
I think the path was like, hey, you study hard, you go to a very good university, you get a very good job, and you work really hard, and one day, God knows what.
You see a lot of stories of people who've done it in other ways, right?
Yeah.
Like, but growing up, you didn't have that.
Yeah.
You just didn't know, right? Like,
I didn't know anything, you know?
And the classes were in French.
All in French. Man.
How the fuck did you like manage?
Oh, that was so hard. That was so hard. So there was this thing where like, they felt like a lot of people felt like, oh yeah, this guy's just not as smart, right? So I was spending all my time saying like, okay, I gotta be better at this, and like I need to like beat this other students. So I wasn't spending time learning about businesses, learning about all the stuff that would end up being more important in my life. And then everything changed when there was this one lecture, and there was this one entrepreneur. He sold the company for like 5 billion euros.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so it was the first time I was in the same room as an entrepreneur. And he gave this talk, and the part that's most memorable to me is not the really smart things that he said. It's the dumb things that he said. Because in my mind, it's like, oh, like some of them, I hadn't really thought about like how companies are started, and like in my mind, it's like, oh, like companies are these things that kind of exist. And then like you see the guy, and it's like he's a human being. He's like, not long ago I was sitting in the same chairs that you guys are sitting, and I did this thing, and so can you. And that was profound. I progressively started doing better and better in college. But every time like I was very competitive, and like every time I felt like the other kids, like they didn't admire me because there was not much to be admired, I was like one day they're gonna invite me to like give a lecture here, and then I'm gonna show them.
Yeah.
It's gonna take 20 years.
It's so funny how like this chip on the shoulder is like so common among entrepreneurs, right? Like of like wanting to like prove something or like get out of something, like because you need that like extra motivation.